Welcome back to another episode of A Gambled Life. On this episode we'll go through my YZ450, giving it a service, every nut and bolt check, things you should look for, and also I'll walk you through how to square up the front end when you have a little drop and it goes out of alignment. So let's get to it. First thing I like to do is check the coolant level, make sure it's all topped up. Real hard to see, but mine is. Next up, we'll start her up, warm it up so we can then drain the oil out of it. Listen to that baby purr. While it's running, just go over it, look for anything loose. And that's it. It's already a warm day today, so that didn't take too long to warm up. Surprisingly, it started first kick. Now that that's all warmed up, let's get into draining the oil. So I'll talk you through it. Every bike is different, but I'll show you how I do mine, and I suggest you get your owner's manual, which will tell you where all your drain points are and what you need to do to service yours. But I'm just going to go through mine. Gives you a bit of an idea that anyone can do this. Just have a bit of common sense and take your time if it's your first time, but you really can do it. On my 450, there's, if you can just see right here, there's one drain bolt which drains the sump. This runs a wet clutch, gearbox, everything is all under the same oil. So there's one bolt there. There's a second one just under the water pump, and there's the oil filter. I like to do mine after every ride. It's probably a bit overkill, but I'd rather have fresh oil in it all times. So let's get to it and start dropping the oil. A wise old man told me once, you should never kneel on cold concrete or floors in that general. Unlike some old mechanics, I think they got told the same thing and they didn't listen. But I try and kneel on a mat if you can. Mat or a foam block or anything you can kind of kneel on. You'll thank me in the long run. That's both those drain bolts out. Oil's draining out nicely. Yes, it does run onto the frame on that one, but you can just clean up that with a bit of degreaser after it's all drained out, which is nearly there. So I'll wipe up the drain bungs, put them back in, and we can get onto the oil filter. Before we do the oil filter, I'll just show you this handy tip. They are a paper style filter, and what I do before you put the new one in the bike, pour some oil in your measuring jug that you're going to put into your bike and put that filter in just so it can soak in some oil, so it's not starting dry when you start the bike up for the first time. It's got some oil there that it can pump through the motor. The oil filter casing is just two little 8mm bolts. Make note on which way they are. One's longer than the other. when you take it off, lay it in a position that you know they will go in. Other thing is also watch which way the oil filter comes out. Some bikes you can put them in different directions. These Yamahas you can't, but just make sure you know which way it goes so you don't have a problem where you're not getting oil pressure. Now with the fresh oil filter, go in the direction on which way it goes. One has a hole, one is blocked. On these are pretty easy which way they go. Put the cover back on. Careful not to crimp the O-ring. Long bolt, short bolt. Do them up a little bit at a time till they snug up nice and tight. And you don't have to do them up tight, just a little bit. That's all you need to do. Now that those bolts are done up, don't over tighten them. They're aluminium cases with a steel bolt. If you're unsure how tight to go, look at your owner's manual for your bike. Even look it up online if you don't own one. It'll tell you the torque spec to do them up, and follow that to a T. Righto guys, now that that is empty of oil, we need to fill it back up. The best way to do that is check your owner's manual. It'll tell you what grade of oil to use. In my case it's a 10W40. You need to also ensure that the oil that you use can handle a wet clutch if your bike has that. In my case it does. A wet clutch means the clutch that is in this bike is ran on the same oil that the motor is, so you need to make sure your oil can handle that. Otherwise you will have slip and clutch problems. In the owner's manual, along with the grade of oil to use, it'll tell you how much to use. In my case that is 1.2 litres, so let's get to it and fill it back up. Righto, now the oil fill port on my YZ450 is on the magneto cover. It doesn't run a dipstick like some cars and all that run. Some bikes do, mine does not. So that is where knowing the correct amount of oil to put in your bike when you're servicing it really comes into play. It does have an oil glass. That only works once it's run up to oil pressure, to allow you to quickly check to see if it's got oil pressure, but also it will tell you an indicator of level once it's been turned off and sat for a couple of minutes. But let's fill it back up. As I said before, mine takes 1.2 litres, so that means my jug is 1 litre, so one of them, and then 200 millilitres as well. Righto, now we've got oil in it. Let's start it up, make sure we get oil pressure up, and turn it off and get on to the next part. We got oil pressure, so that's all good. The little window down here shows us that. It's a good thing to do is check for any oil leaks after it's ran out of the fill cap, out of any of the drain holes, or even the oil filter cap. But in our case, that's all good, so let's get on to servicing the air filter. The location of the air filter is different on every bike, but in my case I got to take the seat end fuel tank off so I can gain access to that air filter to clean it, oil it and get it back installed. A good thing to have when you're working on bikes is magnet trays so you can separate your bolts when you're taking them off. Really makes putting them back together really easy. Righto guys, I've got the seat off. Now with the fuel tank on mine, I've learned a little bit of a hack. I can actually tilt the fuel tank up. As you can see on mine, handy trick. I put a strap so it holds the tank up on an angle so I can gain access to the air filter to get that clean. The air filter out. As you can see on this side, we are fairly dirty, not that bad, but there is a little bit of dust and mud on it from the last ride. But on the inside, we're beautiful, oiled still and clean. I'm going to get on to showing you how to clean our air filter for one of these. It's fairly simple. If you buy the kit, it's easy to do. Do it yourself. It just saves your motor in the long run. Righto guys, we've got our air filter here. We're going to give it a clean. So get yourself a tub of any size, a bucket. Some kits actually come with 2 separate buckets to do this job, but I've got a nice tub. Make sure it's nice and clean. You want to get yourself some foam filter cleaner. You can pick this up from any motorcycle shop, even Super Cheap Auto sells it, but you want to get yourself a good quality one to clean your air filters. So pour some of that in. This stuff can be reused, so don't just tip it out once you've cleaned one air filter. Tip it back into the tub and clean again. What you want to do is, it is a messy job, but pour the cleaner in and just give your filter a squeeze and just squeeze all that cleaner through it, and you'll start watching all the dirt and grime come out of it. You want to keep soaking it in it, squeeze it out nice and softly, not to dig into the foam, just nice and soft, and just keep rinsing it through it. Now we've got that all rinsed off in the cleaner. As you can see, there is a lot of that oily stuff come off it now, but this still has a bit of a blue tinge to it. This stuff is designed to be rinsed off with water, so let's get to that. I'll rinse it off with water and I'll get back to you. As I said with this cleaner, it can be reused over and over a few times. You start to know when you should get some new stuff. Pour it back in the tin, ready for the next time. Now that we've got that air filter all washed off and rinsed off, so I'm going to put this one aside to dry, as it needs to dry before you oil them. So if I sit that aside somewhere, let that dry out the way. I have this other one because I like to have 2 air filters for my bike, so I know that I can just change one out and put the other one in, vice versa. Always got a clean air filter there, so my bike runs as best that it can. So let's oil this second one up, so we're all good to go. Righto guys, now you want to get your foam filter oil this is the stuff you put on it to make sure your motor keeps running nice and clean and catch all that dirt. So they don't run them dry, they put an oil on them. So let's put some on it. What you want to do is tip a generous amount in there and start soaking it through it. Run the filter around in the tub, gathering it all, swinch it all up and start rinsing it through it, trying to get all that oil throughout the filter so it is nice and covered. Squeeze all that excess out. Don't try and twist it or anything, try and rinse it up like a towel. That will wreck the foam. All you want to do is just crush it in your hand, squeezing all that excess oil out, just crushing it with your hand. And then that is one perfectly good oiled filter. Now that that is all oiled up, we'll get it back in the bike. Don't start a bike with really wet oil that your filter has on it. At least leave it for a day to tack up. This is why I like to have a second filter there. If you're in a rush swapping between rides, you can just chuck another one in and go. Let's get it back in the bike so we can get on to the next job. With the air filter, make sure it's seated correctly, give it a couple of wiggles around, make sure it's all lined up properly because you do not want dust going between it and your motor. Now that the air filter is back in the bike, seated correctly, we can get the cover back over it, drop the tank, put the seat back on it, and that component is done. So let's get to it. When you're doing things up, you want to take your time, even do things up by hand first, making sure it's grabbing enough thread so you know it's starting correctly, not cross-threaded. As if you cross-thread a bolt on a bike, you're going to have a very hard time trying to fix a lot of spots because you can't get behind things. You just want to do them up nice and good and tight. If you're unsure, again, your owner's manual will tell you the torque spec, but you just want to do them up. As you can see, I'm only using a little ratchet as I'm very used to doing bolts this size up. As you can see, I'm not putting a lot of force on that. Now that the tank is installed, we're going to get the seat back on it. With the seat, there is 3 points that mount to the bike. One slips to the tank, one slips to the frame, and then there's a point at the back which bolts just near the back guard. When you're putting it on, make sure they're all lining up so your seat is very secure when you're riding it. So you just got to get your head down, make sure the frame one's lining up, make sure the tank one's lining up. Give it a little push. You can tell that those two are lined up as it won't pull up. Make sure your plastics go back on the other side of the seat. Make sure the holes line up. Then you can grab your bolts and do it up. Now that the seat is all on, I'm going to show you how to square up the front end. If you drop it and it tweaks it a little bit, not a big issue. Out on the track you might give it a little little whack to get it enough that you can ride it home, but when you're home, go over it, make sure it's square so you're riding dead straight down the track and you're all good. So let's get into it. I'll show you through it. As you can see from the front of the bike, those bars are straight, forks are straight, but if you look at the wheel, it's actually coming off to the side. What you want to do is come around to each clamp. There is 2 bolts here, 2 bolts there, same on the other side, and just loosen them off and I'll talk you through it. As you would notice, these aren't actually that tight. You really want to check your torque specification for these bolts, especially the lower clamp. You don't want to reef that tight because it will actually affect the motion in the suspension. It will actually bind up at that point. So check your torque spec so you can do that up correctly. Now that we've got all that loose, now you want to come around and all you'll do is put your 2 legs each side of the wheel, grab onto the bars, and you'll actually hear it tweak. So you just want to do that, keep checking it, looking down the center of the bike till you get it where it's square. If your bike's not that old, you might not actually have that much difficulty doing this as it hasn't got much dirt in these clamps yet. An older bike still might be a little bit harder because there might be some grit in there. Just keep playing with it. You'll start to see when it's lined up. Look down your guard. I'm not suggesting the guard is the correct position for your wheel. You really want to check it over the bars, make sure they're straight. Really look down the bike to see if it's straight, because your guard might be a little bit warped due to heat and old age. Now that that is all square, you can actually see it's nice and square. When you stand at the back and look down on it, when you're standing up, it's nice and square. Now you got it all square, grab your torque wrench, check your manual for your torque specification, but you want to go over. As you can see, it ain't much. Go over it a few times. As you do one up, the other one will go a little bit more. Start with the lower ones.
I then go around with a
ratchet, making sure all the bolts are tight, everywhere you can see. Now we'll get on to checking some other things on a bike. Other thing you want to check, make sure your chain is in good condition. Grab it at the back. If you can lift it off your sprocket, you know your chain is worn out. Inspect your sprocket, make sure all the teeth are still nice, they're not leaning over. If they become to a really sharp point, it is starting to wear out, so you should change it. Inspect your front sprocket. If you start seeing the points on the sprocket start curling forward, as they do, change it. You don't want a sprocket to let go. You don't want a chain to let go. Most of the time they smash into your case, then you're into a brand new case, and that is expensive. That is a full motor rebuild. Another thing you want to check, make sure your rotors are in good condition. Look down to make sure you've still got plenty of brake pads front and rear. A good thing to have is a stand like this, or any motorbike lifting stand, or anything you can get a bike off the ground so both wheels are off the ground, so you can go around, put some weight on the bottom. It's a bit hard to do with one hand, but you want to grab the wheel, make sure there's no play in it, to check your wheel bearings. Grab onto it, give it a shake, make sure there's no play in the bearings. If you start feeling a bit of slop in the wheel, you know that you need to do wheel bearings. Next thing you want to do is actually grab on both sides of the swing arm, give it a good shake, back and forward, every direction. You want to make sure your swing arm bearings are in good nick. See if there's any play, grab onto the linkages, make sure they're all good. Grab onto your shock, make sure that's all good. Righto guys, now that we've gone over the bike, I'm going to take you inside. I'm going to show you what gear that I actually ride with to keep myself safe. I'll also go through what I carry on my back in my backpack to make sure I've got tools, food, water and any other supplies that you might need when you're out trail riding in the bush. These are the things I strongly suggest that you guys carry too. So let's jump inside and I'll take you through what I have. Righto guys, all my gear I pack up in a Ballard's gear bag, just keeps it all nice and neat, so it fits your boots, helmet, all your gear, packs up nice and neat so I can just throw it in the corner, and then when I go out for a ride it's all packed, ready to go. Everything is in it all the time, ready to go, so grab it, go out riding. I ride with a set of Tech 10 boots. As you can see, they are well used. I run the Tech 10s because they run an extra brace in the inside. I do have an ankle with nice bits of metal and tech screws in it, so I like to protect my ankle as much as I can. So we got a set of Tech 10s. In the main pocket of this bag, I do have my bladder for my backpack. I run a full body armour which has a chest guard, does run a kidney belt, keeps your kidney and everything else in there all nice and tight, zips up, it's got a back guard, shoulder guards and elbow guards. I know people that don't ride with any of this, but I'd rather have it than not have it. It's just one extra bit of safety, so when you're out riding, you know you're safe. I also ride with knee guards. You don't have to, I know people that don't, but again, it's another bit of safety that I have on. These are the Leah knee guards. I highly suggest them. They're breathable. They virtually feel like you don't have them on. They move with you and just keeps you another bit of safety. As of every rider, you ride with a set of pants. These are my pairs. They're comfy, they're breathable, so not only in winter but summer riding you stay nice and cool as well. You got to have a nice set of jerseys. I actually have 2 pairs in here. I go on a couple of day rides, so it's nice to put a fresh shirt on so you're not smelly, but I go a little bit bigger in size so it fits over my body armour and all that, so I'm not in any way restricted. Obviously you need a set of gloves, keep your hands protected. Again, multiple pairs, so if they get wet you can chuck another pair on. Because I run knee guards and the boots, you need a long pair of socks. These aren't stockings, they're actually motorbike socks. They come right up over my knee, so they cover the knee brace, so when you got the straps around you don't get any chafing and you're comfortable on the bike. Next thing in the bag is my helmet. It's not the dearest helmet on the market, but it's not a cheap one either. I strongly suggest that you spend a little bit extra money and get a better than cheap helmet. At the end of the day, this thing will save your life if you go a decent one. I can't strongly suggest that enough. I've had plenty of whacks on my head over my life, and one of them, I was on a push bike and my helmet did save my life. If I did not have it on, I would probably not be here today. So get yourself a decent helmet. Following that, I also have a pair of goggles. You might see I actually have a bit of a blue tinge to them. When you're in dark conditions out on the trails, actually when you look through them, it actually lightens the area up and makes you be able to see in those darker areas a little bit better than just normal clear goggles. Other thing I have in my bag, this is a waterproof jacket. it's big enough to go over all my gear, because I put this in my gear bag or start actually riding with this, because riding in the rain, getting wet, not so much fun. But if I've got this on, I stay nice and dry, which keeps the ride fun and the adventure even better. When I'm out riding, I ride with a tool bag. Some may call it a bum bag, I call it a tool bag. Laugh at me. Inside it, I've got various different tools. I also got Panadols, Nurofen, all the little things, some band-aids, eye washers, virtually a little first aid kit in it, because you never know. When you start learning your bike, you'll start learning on what size tools you actually need, like to undo rear wheels, front wheels, any nut and bolt on your bike, spark plugs, all of that. So you can actually set this up to have tools specific for your bike, which also might help your mates out, because no doubt they'll forget something. It's good to carry a few extra nuts and bolts for different sizes, for bark busters, bolts for plastics, anything, washers, whatever you might think that you might need. Stack a little pack together, take it with you. Also got a tyre repair kit with also some canisters to blow up tyres, because I do run tubes still in my bike. They are heavy duty, but I've never had a problem yet with it. I'll say that keyword yet, you never know, but I carry the stuff that I can fix it myself. But hello, Axel. Just wanted to come in and say hello. Oh, okay. I haven't had a problem yet, but I've got all the stuff that I need to take the tube off, with tyre levers, anything like that. I am able to change a tube if I have them. I carry tubes, I'll get into that in a minute. We got extra spark plugs, we got extra spanners, we got some electrical tape, we got cable ties, we got sealants, and that roughly goes through my tool bag. It's a good thing to have, carry tools, so you're not relying on other riders. Onto the bag. This is my backpack that I ride with. It allows me to carry that water, which is a 2-litre bladder. On most rides, I drink that without a problem. I also carry probably a Powerade as well, or a Gatorade, just to get your blood sugars up. I normally carry a bag of lollies in here, some snacks, some muesli bars, just something to keep your sugars up, keep your hydration up. You always need that. Tubes. I went on a big ride, so I've actually still got both of them in here. You can actually get away with running a front tube. It will fit in your rear as well. It will get you back to the car. It's not the answer for everything, but it'll get you out of there. So I suggest you at least run a front tube, because your front will work in your rear to get you out of the bush. But if you can carry both, it's even better. I also carry a JB Weld Essential Travel Pack. This has virtually a glue, a paste. It's not the answer for everything, but it might get you out of trouble. In the front pouch, because of my bike is fuel injected, I've got virtually the Yamaha scan tool for it. This also is a power tuner, but I don't muck with that. But this is a scan tool like your car. You can plug in a scan tool and work out codes that you need to fix yours. Another thing I carry, a bit of dunny roll. You're out in the bush for a fair few hours and you never know, nature might call. in the bag as well. I don't have it in here, but I can put a 3-litre fuel bladder. I do have a long range tank on the bike, but sometimes it's handy just to carry an extra few litres of fuel, because running out is not fun as well unless you can siphon out of another mate's bike. That is everything that I ride with or take with me on a trail ride. You don't have to have everything that I've said here, but I highly suggest you at least have majority of this stuff to keep you safe, keep you well prepared for any situation, and keeps you out there having fun. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Hopefully this video has given you the confidence to tackle this job yourself. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, please leave me a like, subscribe, comment down below what you like most of seeing what videos I put up. So at the end of the day, a gamble life, you never know what you're going to roll. So on to the next one.